The night sky over the Pacific looked peaceful, a black ocean scattered with stars. Ships crossed the water below, their running lights tiny sparks in the dark. No one noticed the faint shimmer sliding through the upper atmosphere, a soft silver haze moving faster than the wind. It carried no sound, no heat, no warning. Astronomers in Chile tracked meteors every evening, but the strange cloud slipped past their sensors. Whether satellites saw a thin streak of light that lasted less than a second, it was dismissed as static. Somewhere in the void, a different kind of visitor had arrived. 2 days later, fishermen near Okinawa found dead fish floating in warm, clear water. At first, they blamed a chemical spill. In Brazil, rainforest birds dropped from trees, their wings still outstretched as if mid-flight. Farmers in Kenya woke to fields of corn turned black, the stalks collapsing into dust by sunrise. The events seemed separate till they spread. Hospitals in Sydney, filled with patients complaining of sudden fever and violent coughing. In Alaska, entire colonies of seabirds vanished overnight. Bees stopped returning to their hives in Germany. Within 48 hours, the pattern was unmistakable. Every continent, every climate zone, every species. Something invisible was moving faster than the world could track. Governments scrambled for answers. News networks flashed urgent banners. Unknown pathogen. Global outbreak. Markets plunged. Airports locked down. Drones sprayed disinfectant over city streets, though no one knew if it helped. Doctors were the first to notice the difference. This sickness was not like any virus or bacteria they had studied. People grew weak. Yes, but animals, insects, even plants were dying at the same speed. One scientist compared it to a fire that burned through DNA itself. The World Health Organization declared a planetary emergency, yet still could not name the enemy. High above the panic, the silver haze drifted on. The cloud was not alive in the way humans understood. It was a design, a living machine built on alien principles. Inside each particle, a microscopic lattice folded in impossible angles, carrying code older than Earth's oldest fossils. The creators of this code were unknown, but their intention was clear. Erase all known life and start again. No warships. Just a quiet extinction, impossible to stop. In Geneva, geneticist Dr. Amara Vance stared at a microscope until her eyes ached. She and her team had received samples from dying forests in South America and frozen fish from the Arctic. Under the lens, the invader pulsed with a dull inner light. Proteins twisted like Mobius strips, shapes that should not exist. "Nothing fits," she whispered. "It breaks every rule." Her colleague, Professor Kaio Nishi, frowned at the screen. "It changes every time we sequence it." "I ran the same sample 5 times. 5 different genomes. It's rewriting itself while we watch," Amara said. "It doesn't mutate like a normal virus. It decides." Outside the lab, crowds gathered for answers. Inside, fear spread faster than the pathogen itself. By the end of the week, food chains unraveled. Oceans turned cloudy with dead plankton. Without insects, crops failed. Power plants shut down when cooling rivers filled with rotting fish. Nations closed their borders. But the invisible haze ignored every wall. Families huddled in apartments, listening to empty streets. Children asked questions parents could not answer. Could they drink the water? Would pets survive? Would the air itself kill them? Television anchors wore masks while reporting. Their voices shook as they described entire ecosystems folding in on themselves. Yet amid the despair, faint sparks of hope appeared. In a mountain village in Nepal, an old woman tended her goats. Neighbors had fallen ill, but she and her animals remained healthy. In Nigeria, a group of children played soccer barefoot while the rest of their town lay silent. In the Arctic, an Inuit family continued their hunt. Immune to the sickness sweeping south, doctors took samples from these survivors, searching for a reason. Nothing obvious linked them. Different ages, diets, climates. Only one thing stood out: their genes. On the 8th day, world leaders issued a joint message. Screens lit up across the planet. The UN Secretary-General, pale and sleepless, spoke in a calm, hard voice. We face an unknown organism of extraterrestrial origin. It adapts faster than we can fight it. Conventional medicine is useless. But we have discovered scattered cases of natural immunity. The answer may lie in the human genome itself. We ask for cooperation and courage. Humanity's survival depends on it. The world listened in silence. For the first time in history, every nation faced the same invisible enemy. Deep beneath Geneva, Dr. Vance isolated a fragment of the invader's code. Her computer models flickered, trying to map its structure. Then, without warning, the program crashed and restarted, lines of alien symbols flashing across the screen. Kai stared. "It's reading us," he said. The organism wasn't just attacking. It was learning, copying, matching itself to human DNA in real time. Yet in that mimicry lay a flaw. Certain human sequences refused to bond. Ancient, chaotic sections of what scientists once called junk DNA, twisted in unpredictable ways. Blocking the invasion, Amara felt a chill. "It can't predict the unpredictable," she whispered. "Our Messiansis is our shield." Outside the labs, fear deepened. Governments debated nuclear fire breaks burning whole regions to slow the spread. Satellites showed forests turning gray. Cities dimmed as power failed. In the dark, rumors multiplied. Alien vengeance. Divine punishment. A test from the stars. Through it all, a single truth hardened. The human race was fragile, but not helpless. In a final press briefing before communications began to falter, Dr. Vance addressed the world. Her voice trembled, but her eyes blazed. "For centuries, we have looked to the stars, fearing what might come. We imagined fleets of warships, giant machines, but the greatest threat is microscopic. A weapon designed to erase all life has arrived, and yet something unexpected stands in its way. Something inside us. Our DNA is not just history. It is defense. The invader cannot adapt to what it cannot predict. Humanity's randomness, our endless variety, is our best weapon. The universe's most devastating bioweapon has met its match. The answer lies within us. The feed cut to black. Across every time zone, people sat frozen. From skyscraper rooftops to desert tents, the same thought echoed, could we really survive this? Children pressed closer to parents. Strangers held hands. Farmers stared at blackened fields, while city dwellers watched empty skies. For the first time, humanity's hope was not in technology or weapons, but in the chaotic code written into every cell. Outside, the silver haze continued to drift, silent and deadly. But in laboratories, bunkers, and hidden valleys, a new battle had begun, not with guns, but with the deepest secrets of life itself. The world woke to silence. Streetlights still burned, but no birds greeted the dawn. Oceans carried a dull gray sheen. Winds moved without scent. It was as if Earth itself had paused, holding a single long breath. At 3:11 a.m. Greenwich time, a chain of sudden blackouts began. First Tokyo, then Paris, then the eastern seaboard of the United States. Power plants failed as cooling systems clogged with masses of dead plankton. Satellites showed rivers of lifeless fish, glowing white beneath the moon. From space, the darkened continents looked like islands adrift in endless black. Air traffic. Controllers reported dozens of planes requesting emergency landings. Pilots spoke of a strange glitter in the upper atmosphere, a silver haze that clung to the wings like frost. Engines stuttered. Communication hissed and broke by sunrise. Every capital city was awake to the same reality. The world was tilting into chaos. Governments issued travel bans, then rescinded them when borders became meaningless. Trains stopped when power failed. Supermarkets emptied in hours. A single cough on a crowded street caused entire blocks to flee in Brazil's interior. Rainforest canopies turned brown overnight. Wolves in Siberia wandered into villages searching for food, their prey already gone. Beekeepers from Canada to Kenya found hives silent and still. Food chains collapsed like a house of cards. Without pollinators, crops withered. Without fish, Ocean predators starved. And always the silver mist drifted onward, indifferent to panic. Families abandoned cities, hoping rural air might be safer. Highways jammed with cars that soon ran out of fuel. Those on foot carried what they could: blankets, bottles of water, old photographs in the mountains of Colorado. A father named Marcus led his 2 daughters through pine forests already fading to gray. He listened to distant sirens, then nothing at all. The girls asked when things would return to normal. Marcus gave no answer. Half a world away in Cairo, a young nurse named Salma wrapped her face in cloth and guided elderly neighbors through dark alleys toward a government shelter. Overhead, the sky flickered with a cold green light that no one could explain. These were only 2 among billions, each clinging to fragments of hope as familiar life dissolved. Far below the Swiss Alps, Dr. Amara Vance and Professor Kai Onishi worked without sleep. They had one message for world leaders: containment is impossible. The xenovirus does not spread, Kai said to a room of tired officials connected by failing video links. It simply appears. It may ride on electromagnetic fields or quantum tunneling. We do not know. But it is everywhere. Amara pointed to a map glowing with red. We have documented natural immunity in scattered populations, she said. It is our only lead. We need global genetic samples now, every nation. Every survivor. The officials argued about sovereignty, patents, who would own the cure if it came. Amara slammed her fist on the table. This is not a negotiation. This is extinction. Her voice echoed through the cold chamber. For a moment, even the politicians were silent. In New York, traders tried to value a world without agriculture. Currency collapsed. Digital ledgers blinked out when data centers overheated. Gold lost meaning when there was no bread to buy. Rumors flooded social media: secret alien fleets, divine judgment, hidden bunkers for the elite. None of it mattered against the relentless truth. Ecosystems were dying faster than governments could invent new lies. Yet amid the terror, whispers of hope grew louder. A video surfaced from a Nepalese village where goats grazed and children laughed, untouched by the sickness. In Iceland, a family fishing in a fjord showed no symptoms while neighboring towns lay empty. Geneticists compared samples and saw patterns. Fragments of DNA once dismissed as evolutionary junk were waking, shifting, rewriting themselves. Kai stared at the data and murmured, "Humanity is evolving in real time." Amara nodded. It is the one thing the xenovirus cannot predict: our chaos. The crisis birthed quiet acts of courage. In Lagos, an engineer jury rigged wind turbines to power a hospital for another night. In rural France, farmers pooled hidden grain to feed entire villages. In Seoul, students coded a decentralized network to share medical findings when the internet backbone began to fail. None of these actions stopped the bioweapon, but they kept the idea of humanity alive. On the 12th day, the United Nations issued a final emergency broadcast. The Secretary General's face looked drawn, his voice hoarse. Containment has failed. Every life form is at risk. But there is a chance, a small one, in the resilience found in scattered human genes. We ask every remaining laboratory, every surviving government, to send all genetic data to the Geneva Vault. The fate of our species depends on it. The message looped for hours. Then the signal flickered and died. Night fell again, heavy and absolute. Skies glimmered with the strange silver dust, faintly luminescent like moonlight trapped in mist. Cities stood quiet. Oceans rolled with a low, endless hiss, somewhere deep in the mountains. Marcus and his daughters watched the stars, wondering which of them would survive till morning. In Cairo, Salma held the hand of a stranger, listening for the heartbeat that meant life still lingered. And in the underground lab, Mara Vance whispered to herself, "The answer is inside us. It has to be." The planet teetered on the brink, fragile, terrified, yet not finished. Humanity's final gamble was only beginning. The world counted each sunrise like a heartbeat. Every day felt borrowed. High in the Andes, dawn spilled cold light across a silent village. Entire families lay fevered and still. Only one small figure moved. 8-year-old Nyara stepped carefully through the quiet streets, her dark eyes sharp, her breath steady. Everyone around her was sick core gone, but her own skin glowed with perfect health. A rescue team arrived in sealed suits, expecting another lifeless outpost. When they found Nyara laughing among the goats, their radios filled with stunned voices, she was not the only one. Across the planet, reports multiplied. A fisherman in Greenland, immune, while his crew collapsed. An elderly couple in rural India, untouched as neighbors died. Entire families in scattered valleys of Africa, Asia, and the Arctic live unscarred, breathing the same poisoned air. No climate, no diet, no medicine explained it. These survivors carried something invisible and powerful inside their cells. Governments rushed to gather them. Some came willingly, hoping to help. Others hid, fearing experiments or desperate mobs deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Dr. Amara Vance and Professor Kaio Nishi stared at glowing data screens. The Geneva Vault, once a quiet research hub, now hummed like a beehive. Generators shook the walls. Soldiers guarded every door. Outside, starving crowds pleaded for answers. Kai pointed to a genetic map. These sequences shouldn't exist. Non-coding regions, completely unpredictable. Amara rubbed her temples. Junk DNA. Except it's not junk anymore. Something in the xenovirus wakes it up. He leaned closer. It's almost like the virus is testing us, searching for a perfect match. But these people, they're too messy. Too complex. Amara exhaled. Our chaos saves us. While scientists worked, the surface world unraveled. New York's skyline flickered in darkness. The Amazon lay brown and brittle. Ocean currents slowed, heavy with rot. But even as cities emptied, human determination burned in Lagos. Engineers rigged bicycle parts to generate electricity for a clinic. In rural France, villagers planted hidden seed stores in caves, betting on a future they might never see. In Kyoto, monks shared ancient breathing practices with frightened children to calm their racing hearts. The planet seemed doomed. Yet people kept reaching for life. Back in Geneva, the team isolated a repeating pattern in the survivors' DNA. Ancient sequences older than Homo sapiens. Shared across every culture and continent, Amara recorded a message for the world. These fragments may be billions of years old, echoes of organisms that survived cosmic radiation, volcanic winters, asteroid strikes. We think they allow human cells to rewrite themselves on the fly, confusing the xenovirus faster than it can adapt. The discovery shook every assumption about evolution. Life's random mistakes, the very flaws long dismissed as useless, were proving stronger than alien perfection. News of the immune spread faster than the pathogen. Desperate families begged to join the trials. Rumors of black market DNA harvests filled dark networks. Militia seized laboratories, demanding priority for their own people. World leaders argued, should gene data remain open to all? Who decides who lives if a cure emerges? Amara faced the cameras, her voice cold with resolve. We will share every finding freely. No patents. No borders. Humanity stands or falls together. Her words ignited both hope and anger. Some called her a hero. Others, a traitor to national interests. Scientists began testing a radical idea. Awaken the hidden chaos sequences in ordinary humans before infection struck. Early trials showed promise. Cells exposed to stress, heat, pressure, radiation started to mimic the natural immunity, but side effects frightened the team. Subjects reported vivid hallucinations, sudden fevers, bursts of superhuman strength followed by collapse. Activating ancient genes was like stirring a sleeping volcano. Still, the choice was clear. Do nothing and die. Or gamble on evolution itself. Around the world, ordinary people made extraordinary choices. In Toronto, a single mother volunteered for the first human trial, whispering a goodbye to her sleeping child. In Mongolia, nomads carried genetic samples across frozen plains when drones failed. In Nairobi, teenagers hacked satellites to beam scientific data to the last working servers. Their names might never be remembered, but their actions formed the backbone of the species. Last stand. Amara finally spoke the phrase that would echo through history. Humanity's genetic paradox. We are fragile, yet unbreakable, she told a silent assembly of surviving leaders. The very randomness that once threatened our species' mutations drift, so-called junk DNA is our shield. The xenovirus is perfect. We are not. That imperfection is our salvation. Outside, the silver haze still glimmered in moonlight. But for the first time since the invasion began, the human race felt a pulse of real hope. Late that night, as Geneva's generators hummed and distant sirens faded, Kai found Amara staring at a new set of sequences. These survivors, she said quietly, aren't just resisting the virus, they're changing. Their cells are. Faster. Smarter. Kai's eyes widened. You mean evolution isn't waiting for generations? Amara whispered. It's happening now, and we have no idea what comes next. Somewhere far above the silent earth. The silver mist thickened, as if listening. The planet was quiet, but not still. Beneath the silence, life was rewriting itself. Midnight in the Geneva vault, generators throbbed like a distant heartbeat. Dr. Amara, Vance leaned over her microscope. Fighting sleep, a thin sliver of tissue taken from an immune child in Nepal sat on the slide. Moments earlier, it had looked ordinary. Now it pulsed with a faint blue light, a shimmer that grew brighter each second. Kaionishi stepped back. Is that fluorescence? Amara shook her head. No dye. No reagent. The cell is doing this on its own. Before their eyes, the genetic strands inside the nucleus coiled and uncoiled like living neon. Shapes appeared spirals that bent in impossible angles, then vanished again. The junk DNA is waking up, Amara whispered. Above the lab, the world slipped closer to collapse. Oceans smelled of iron and rot. Fields turned to ash without flame. Skies shimmered silver, the alien haze denser each day. Governments had all but dissolved. Local councils formed from whoever still had food, fuel, or skill. Yet in hidden places, hope burned. In a half-lit church in Mexico City, volunteers shared news of the Geneva discoveries. In frozen tundra, Inuit hunters carried vials of blood from immune survivors to coastal drop zones. Everywhere people clung to one message. Something inside us fights back. Back underground. Amara and Kai sequenced the glowing DNA. The results defied logic. Non-coding. Regions once called junk were folding into three-dimensional structures faster than computers could model. Old viral fragments from humanity's distant past were knitting together, forming new proteins never cataloged. It's like the cells are reading a hidden manual, Kai said. A manual older than the human race, Amara replied. Ancient mistakes. Long buried in our genome, we're rewriting the rules of life. Worldwide, desperate survivors volunteered for experimental activation therapy. Heat chambers. Radiation bursts just below lethal. Precision drugs meant to wake the dormant sequences. The side effects were fierce. Fevers. Vivid dreams. Sudden strength followed by collapse. Some subjects heard whispers in languages they had never learned. Others described a deep humming in their bones, as if the planet itself sang to them. But a pattern emerged. Those who endured gained a strange resilience. Their cells healed wounds overnight. Their senses sharpened. The xenovirus slowed inside them, confused and weak. In Alaska, a young biologist named Lena survived the therapy. She hiked across dead forests, able to smell the faint metallic scent of the alien haze hours before anyone else. In Lagos, a boy named Tund lifted a collapsed steel beam to free trapped neighbors, his muscles burning with new strength. In Tokyo, an elderly woman who had lost her sight decades earlier began to see dim outlines of light. Reporters called them the awakened. Amara studied a captured fragment of the xenovirus under quantum magnification. The virus seemed to hesitate when it met the new human proteins, as if it were trying and failing to predict their shape. It can outthink perfection, Kai murmured. But it can't outthink chaos. A single insight flashed through Amara's mind. We are not the weakest species. We are the wildest. That is what it cannot kill. Not everyone welcomed the discovery. Some military leaders demanded exclusive control of the activation process. Others feared the awakened would become something more than human. In an emergency council meeting, one general shouted, "You are making a new species without consent." Amara met his stare. Consent is meaningless if we all die. Outside the vault, protests grew, people terrified of what these changes might bring. Inside, the research pressed forward. Time was almost gone. On the 21st day, the first global transmission in weeks crackled across shortwave radios. Amara's calm voice carried through static. We have triggered a dormant defense written into the human genome. The xenovirus cannot adapt to what it cannot predict. We must awaken these sequences in as many people as possible. This is not enhancement. This is survival. Around the world, small cheers rose from basements and caves. For the first time since the invasion began, the human race felt the weight of possibility. Later, Kai found Amara staring at a new set of results. These subjects, he said, they're not just resisting. Their children, those conceived after activation, show even stronger traits. Faster reflexes. Unusual brain activity. Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. We're watching the birth of something new. Not just survival. Transformation. Above them, the silver haze thickened, swirling like a living storm. Somewhere in that shifting light, the alien code pulsed silent, watching, and perhaps worried. The world was no longer waiting to be saved. It was preparing to fight back. A lone satellite still circled the dark planet. Its cameras caught a strange glow rising from the Swiss Alps, an amber beam punching through heavy clouds. Moments later, a voice crackled across emergency frequencies in every language. This is Project Helix. The cure will not be found. The cure will be built for survivors huddled in caves and ruins. The message cut through despair like a flare in midnight sky. Beneath Geneva, Dr. Amara Vance led the Helix team into uncharted science. Their goal? Design a gene therapy that could awaken humanity's hidden defense in every person. Not just the rare immune. Kaionishi explained it to the first group of volunteers. We will not kill the xenovirus with drugs. We will change you so it cannot touch you. The therapy would rewrite living cells. While they were still inside the body, a gamble no one had attempted on such a scale. Above ground, the alien haze thickened to a dull silver storm. Cities lay silent. Rivers shimmered like liquid metal. Sensors showed the xenovirus evolving again. Folding into new shapes faster than before, Amara studied the data with clenched fists. We have weeks, she said. Maybe days. Governments, what remained of them, sent their last resources to the Helix tunnels, power cells, rare metals, food for the volunteers. The human race had chosen its final weapon. They came from everywhere. Farmers, pilots, teachers, children barely old enough to understand. Some arrived on foot after walking for days through dead forests. Others were carried in makeshift sleds across frozen seas. One by one, they stepped into the Helix. Chamber-sealed pods lined with humming coils. The process was brutal. A flood of light, heat, and tailored viral vectors designed to spark the dormant chaos sequences of their DNA. Some screamed. Some sang. Some emerged silent and shining with fever. Many did not emerge at all. Outside the vault, tension flared. A coalition of generals demanded the process be limited to soldiers. Religious leaders warned of playing God. A black market network tried to steal the Helix code to sell immunity to the highest bidder. Amara faced the council and refused every demand. This belongs to no nation, no company. Every life is equal. Her defiance united ordinary people. All over the world, survivors tuned battered radios to the Helix frequency. Sending cheers and prayers into the night, the first fully awakened volunteers showed startling changes. Their wounds closed in hours. Vision sharpened until they could read distant mountains like words on a page. Some sensed electromagnetic fields able to feel the alien haze before it arrived. "Lena," as the young Alaskan biologist whispered to Amara, "it's like the planet speaks to us now." Amara only nodded. She felt it too, a faint hum in her bones. As if Earth itself had a heartbeat. Then the xenovirus struck back. Sensors recorded sudden, violent mutation shapes within the haze twisting into fractal storms. Entire regions brightened with a ghostly white glow. Communications failed as electronics fried under unseen pulses. Kai stared at the monitors. "It's adapting to our adaptation." Amara clenched her jaw. "Then we push harder." New pods were built from scavenged ship hulls and wind turbine parts. Volunteers trained themselves to survive the violent activation. Children as young as 6 sang to calm each other as the chambers filled with light. The process was no longer just science. It became ritual, a shared rebirth. From caves in Morocco to ice tunnels in Antarctica, makeshift helix stations flickered to life, their golden glow visible even through the silver mist. On the 35th day, a group of newly awakened humans walked unprotected into the densest part of the haze. Drones recorded what happened. The mist curled around them but did not enter. Particles of the xenovirus disintegrated in their breath, unraveling into harmless dust. The footage spread across every surviving network. For the first time, humanity had struck back not with weapons, but with its own living bodies. Still, danger remained. Some awakened individuals displayed unpredictable powers, bursts of speed, sudden rages, senses so sharp they bordered on painful. Communities debated how much change was too much. Were these people still human or the first members of something new? Amara gave no easy answer. "We are what we must become," she told the cameras. "Survival is never neat." Late one night, as Project Helix pods pulsed like golden hearts beneath the mountain, a faint pattern appeared in the static of deep space receivers. Not random, not natural. A repeating sequence, older than human language, woven into radio hiss. Kai froze. "It's a message." Amara leaned close to the speaker. Through the static, a slow, deliberate rhythm emerged. 3 notes. A pause. 3 notes. A pause as if something out there was knocking on the door of a newly awakened world, above the dark planet. The silver haze trembled. As though listening, the human race had learned to fight back. Now it was time to learn who had struck first. Deep space was silent till the signal returned. At 2:14 GMT, every surviving radio telescope on Earth caught the same sound. 3 notes, a pause. 3 notes, a pause. Not static, not natural. A slow, deliberate rhythm like someone tapping on the wall of the universe. Inside the Geneva vault, technicians froze. The pattern matched no star, no pulsar, no human code. And it carried something stranger still, embedded data that seemed to fold in 4 dimensions. Dr. Amara. Vance stared at the screen. "It's not a greeting," she whispered. "It's a key." Teams around the world worked through the night. Mathematicians, linguists, even musicians tried to decode the strange intervals. The rhythm repeated the same complex prime numbers, but hidden beneath was a spiral of genetic code and echo of the very chaos sequences that Project Helix had awakened. Kionisi's voice trembled. "This isn't just a signal. It's a blueprint. And it matches the xenovirus." The revelation chilled the room. Whoever sent this message knew the weapon and now knew humanity had survived. Cross-referencing deep space archives. Astronomers found the source, a region beyond the Orion Arm, 30,000 light-years away. Records of ancient gamma-ray bursts hinted that something catastrophic had once happened, their civilization erased long before. Earth's first mammals. Amara pieced the fragments together. These aren't invaders. This is a warning system. A cleanup mechanism. Someone built the xenovirus to scrub life from worlds before it could spread, Kai added quietly. And now the system has noticed we didn't die. The discovery lit every remaining network. Some survivors cheered. Proof of intelligent life. Others panicked. Evidence of a predator still watching. Religious leaders argued over prophecy. Militias claimed it was a trick to lure humans into lowering their guard. Yet the message united one. In fact, humanity was not alone, and whoever had released the xenovirus might still be out there. Within Helix communities, a new question burned. Should the awakened, genetically activated humans respond to the signal? Many believed they already had a connection. Lena, the Alaskan biologist, described vivid dreams of star systems she had never seen. Tund, the boy from Lagos, said he could feel the rhythm of the signal vibrating through his bones. Amara listened to their stories, unease growing. The virus tried to erase us, she told Kai, but maybe it also linked us. What if we are now part of the same network that sent the signal? Despite fear, scientists pressed forward. Using data from Helix volunteers, they created a return transmission, a pulse of combined human DNA sequences, intentionally chaotic. Designed to show that Earth had adapted beyond the weapon, we won't send words, Kai said, fingers hovering over the console. We'll send proof of life. At midnight, the beacon launched an unbroken beam of encoded light aimed back toward the Orion arm. Days passed. The silver haze began to thin as awakened humans moved freely through it, their very breath dismantling the alien code. Skies cleared in patches of blue. But everyone, from mountain caves to ocean rafts, kept one ear tuned to the static. Would the builders answer? Would they attack again? Or had humanity just shouted into a dangerous dark? On the 12th night, the receivers trembled. A new pattern emerged, faster, richer. Layered with harmonics that made the air seem to vibrate. Technicians gasped as screens filled with shifting symbols. Not a threat. Not a weapon. A map Kai traced the glowing coordinates. It's a place, he said. A point in our own galaxy. They want to meet. Amara felt her pulse quicken. Or they want to finish what they started. As the awakened gathered around the humming equipment, the map rotated to reveal a final line of alien script. Amara didn't recognize the symbols, but the meaning burned in her mind like a whisper. Come if you dare, above the recovering Earth. The last shreds of the silver haze drifted apart, revealing a sky dense with stars, each one a silent question. Humanity had survived the weapon. Now it had to decide whether to face the Makers. Humanity had beaten the alien plague. Now it had to decide what it meant to be human. Before sunrise, the mountains glowed. From a high ridge above the recovering Swiss valleys, a group of children stood barefoot in the cold. Their skin shone faintly in the starlight, their breath forming silver halos. They stared at the sky with eyes so sharp they could count the craters on a distant moon. One child whispered, "I can hear the stars singing." Below them, the ruins of old cities smoldered in quiet fog. The xenovirus was gone. But something new had begun. Weeks after the alien signal and the thinning haze, Earth was changing. Forests sprouted in dead zones, leaves glowing with unusual pigments. Rivers once poisoned now ran clear, alive with strange, luminous fish. Survivors called it the Great Renewal, yet scientists noticed subtle differences in people as well. Faster healing, heightened senses, the ability to sense magnetic fields or distant storms. The Helix treatment had done more than protect life. It had rewritten it. Across the globe, heated councils met in restored halls and underground bunkers. Are the awakened still human? Should their children born after the xenovirus be given special rights or restrictions? Some feared a new elite. Others saw destiny. Dr. Amara Vance faced these questions daily. We did what we had to do, she told the World Assembly. Survival is change. We cannot pretend we are the same species. Kaionishi agreed, yet warned of danger. If we divide ourselves now, the virus will have one another way. The awakened revealed abilities once thought impossible. A farmer in Argentina lifted a fallen tree with one hand to save a neighbor. A healer in Ghana closed deep wounds by touch alone. Children in Alaska learned to communicate with each other across miles using nothing but thought. These powers inspired hope and fear. Militias armed themselves. Old governments plotted to control the gifted, but many awakened chose peace, forming resonant circles where they practiced their skills and taught restraint. Meanwhile, astronomers kept watch on the stars. The alien map from the previous signal remained unsolved. Its coordinates pointed to a dense cluster near the galactic rim. Amara believed the builders of the xenovirus were waiting. Some argued for silence, others for a mission to meet them. Lena, the young biologist, felt a pull she could not explain. "It's like they're calling us," she said. "And we're ready." New births increased. Every child carried the helix sequences naturally, their immune systems glowing with the same subtle light as the awakened. Doctors confirmed what many suspected. These children were no longer merely human, as history defined it. They were post-xenovirus humans, stronger, faster, and perhaps wiser. In a quiet moment, Amara watched a newborn open golden-flecked eyes and thought, "This is the next chapter of our species." Despite fears, cooperation flourished. Former rivals shared technology and food. Scientists drafted the Interstellar Biosecurity Accord, a plan to track and guard against future alien pathogens. Teams prepared deep space probes, carrying records of Earth's survival, encoded in both old and new human DNA. For the first time, humanity looked to the stars not with terror, but with steady resolve. On the anniversary of the first alien signal, observatories detected a new burst of energy from the same distant coordinates. This time, it was stronger. Clara, pulsing beacon bright enough to outshine a nearby sun. Kai stared at the data feed. "It's not just an invitation," he said. "It's a door opening." Amara looked up at the night sky where unfamiliar constellations shimmered. Behind her, children of the Helix lineage gathered silently, eyes bright with starlight as if they already knew the way. The stars seemed closer now, almost within reach. Humanity had survived. Now it stood at the edge of something greater. To follow the map is to meet the makers. To stay behind is to wonder forever. The choice in the future belonged to the children of the new. Dawn, humanity had survived the weapon. Now it would meet the makers. It began as a single spark in the night sky, above the Atlantic Ocean. A star flared bright enough to cast shadows on the waves. Moments later, radios worldwide came alive with a low, rising hum note, so deep it rattled stone. People stepped out of shelters and saw new constellations ripple across the heavens, as if the universe itself were turning its gaze toward Earth. Dr. Amara Vance whispered to Kayonishi, "They are opening the door." The alien coordinates from the earlier signal pulsed on every screen. Brighter, sharper, almost urgent. The invitation could no longer be ignored. By now, Earth had healed in strange and beautiful ways. The Great Renewal covered old ruins with silver-green forests. Rivers once dead now carried glowing fish beneath moonlit skies. The awakened moved among these wonders with calm purpose. Communities from every continent gathered at a single decision. Should humanity stay and rebuild, or answer the call of the stars? The debate was fierce, but hopeful. Survivors remembered the terror of the xenovirus, yet felt the same pull that haunted their dreams. Lena, the Alaskan biologist, spoke for many. "We were chosen, tested, and we endured. Maybe the makers want to see what we have become." From the remains of orbital stations and abandoned shipyards, engineers built vessels unlike any before. Each carried helix technology woven into its frame, self-healing hulls, living navigation systems, and power drawn from the awakened resonance of its crew. They named the flagship Aurora, a ship that could cross interstellar space on a single pulse of energy. Its heart was not an engine but a living core of combined human and helix. DNA volunteers stepped forward from every culture: pilots, scientists, poets, children of the new dawn. The mission's motto was simple: life will meet life. On launch day, the entire planet gathered in silence. From mountain villages to ocean rafts, People watched the aurora's golden lights rise through a sky swept clean of alien haze. Amara delivered a final address. We are not the fragile species once feared doomed. We are the proof that life adapts. And today, life reaches for the stars. The ship's living core thrummed in answer, a heartbeat echoing across continents. The aurora accelerated beyond the moon in minutes, its hull shimmering like liquid dawn. Inside, the crew felt no weight, only the quiet rhythm of their shared awakening. Days turned to weeks as they followed the alien map across the spiral arms of the galaxy. Strange nebulae glowed like stained glass. Dark matter storms flickered with silent lightning. At last they reached a lone system near the galactic rim, exactly where the signal had pointed. Orbiting a quiet, pale blue star was a single colossal structure. Older than Earth itself, a ring of stone and light so vast it eclipsed planets. Sensors showed no signs of life until the crew felt a pulse inside their own minds. Images bloomed behind their eyes. Ancient worlds, endless oceans, cities made of crystal and song, and a single thought, shared in every language at once. You endured. Amara stepped forward, her voice steady. Why did you send the xenovirus? The reply came as a gentle wave of memory and explanation, without words. A civilization long vanished had created the virus not as a weapon of conquest, but as a cosmic reset, a way to test and strengthen life. Ensuring that only the most adaptable species could travel, though, stars without destroying them. The makers themselves had perished ages ago. Only their safeguards remained. The ring unfolded into paths of light, revealing knowledge encoded in living energy maps of galaxies, keys to new sciences, and a final message: guard all life. Become the guardians we could not be. The crew understood. Humanity's survival was not an accident. It was an invitation to join a network of worlds that had endured similar trials. Amara and the Aurora crew sent a single beam back to Earth, carrying everything they had learned. Within days, Earth received the transmission, images of the ring, the Maker's message, and the promise of safe passage to countless stars. The awakened children danced beneath unfamiliar constellations. Sensing futures beyond imagination, Kai looked at Amara and smiled. We were the test. Now we are the answer. Years later, the night sky over Earth was alive with motion. New ships, each with living cores and awakened crews, left trails of golden light as they leapt into the void. Humanity had become more than survivors. They were explorers, stewards, and perhaps one Demakas themselves. Above the renewed planet, the Aurora sailed past the edge of sight, carrying a single truth across the endless dark. Life adapts. Life endures. Life will not be silent among the stars.